The first time I laid eyes on the vast expanse of the ocean from the deck of the Sunset cruiser, a thrill ran down my spine. It was my first solo trip, a cruise across the Caribbean. My cabin 14 was modest but comfortable. I had planned this trip for months, a reward for finishing my second novel, and was looking forward to the peace, the sun, and the endless horizon. What I hadn't anticipated was the undercurrent of unease that would color my voyage. It began on the second evening. I returned to my cabin after a sumptuous dinner, and there, slipped under the door, was a plain white note. Unfolding it, I read, "I see you. You're not alone." I frowned, thinking it might be a misplaced message meant for someone else, or perhaps a prank. However, when the notes continued to appear under my door each night, each more disturbing than the last, my anxiety grew. "Your laugh is musical," one read. Another, "I dreamt of you last night." Distressed, I approached the cruise staff about it. They were polite but didn't seem overly concerned, suggesting it might be someone just having a little fun. They promised to look into it, but asked me to stay calm. I decided to brush it off, chalking it up to some harmless onboard entertainment. It was on the fourth evening, while I was sitting on the deck, reading under the dim glow of the ship lights, that I felt the intensity of a gaze. Lifting my eyes, I scanned the surroundings but found nothing out of the ordinary. It was then that I saw him, a middle-aged man in cabin 17, just 3 doors down from mine. He was standing in his balcony, his eyes piercing through the darkness, focused intently on me. He didn't wave, didn't smile. He just stood there, watching. My heart raced. Was he the one sending the notes? I decided to pay more attention. Over the next couple of days, I saw him often, lurking in the shadows, sometimes by the pool, sometimes in the hallways, but always watching. His eyes seemed to follow me wherever I went. Feeling paranoid and trapped, I decided to confront him. Knocking on the door of cabin 17, my hands trembled. The door creaked open to reveal him, his face expressionless. "Why are you following me?" I blurted out, trying to sound more confident than I felt. He looked genuinely surprised. "I think you have the wrong idea," he replied calmly. "I've just been enjoying my trip." Not convinced, but not sure what else to do, I retreated. But that night, another note appeared. "I wish you hadn't come to my door." Sleep evaded me. Every sound from the hallway made me jump. Every whisper of the waves seemed to murmur threats. I tried to avoid him, changing my routine, skipping meals and activities, but he was always there, a silent observer from a distance. The crew, while sympathetic, couldn't do much without concrete evidence. Then one evening, as I was returning to my cabin, a woman approached me. "You're the one in cabin 14, right?" she whispered, her eyes darting around nervously. I nodded. She hesitated for a moment and then handed me a stack of notes, eerily similar to mine. "He's been watching me too," she confided. Together we approached the ship's security. With the added evidence and our combined testimonies, they finally took us seriously. They questioned the man from cabin 17, and upon searching his room, found stacks of photos of various passengers, including many of me. The pictures made my stomach drop, and I felt frozen in shock. The pictures were not just from the cruise, they were me at home or me out shopping. I became very worried this was completely crazy and scary as hell. It turned out he had a history of stalking and had somehow managed to board the ship undetected. The cruise company arranged for him to be detained and handed over to the authorities at the next port. They offered counseling and support to those he had that had been targeted. The remaining days of the cruise passed in a blur. While I tried to enjoy the rest of my trip, the shadow of cabin 17 loomed over me. I made sure to get a restraining order as soon as possible after the cruise, still worried that he had pictures of me at home from months before. Several months later, I was at the mall, and I saw him waving at me from the second-floor railing above me. I froze in shock as his face turned angry, and he waved his finger back and forth like I had been bad. I got the attention of a nearby security guard, but he was gone by the time we went upstairs to confront him. I thought I saw him several times since then, but it was just my overactive imagination each time. It will be a long time until I stop looking over my shoulder. You never know how far a crazy person will go. We decided to go on an outdoor adventure for vacation. Our little group of friends had dreamt of this kayaking trip for years, navigating the wild river during the day, setting up camp by its banks at night. The first days were peaceful, the gentle thrum of the river beneath our kayaks a calming presence. It was on the fourth day, with the morning sun casting golden hues on the water, that I noticed the unusual formation on the riverbank. It looked as though a part of the land had been scooped out, leaving an alcove obscured by hanging vines. My curiosity piqued. I signaled to the group, and we maneuvered our kayaks to the riverbank. Pushing aside the vines, we found a roughly hewn passage disappearing into the darkness of the hillside. A sense of foreboding washed over us as we ventured deeper into the passageway, the air growing colder, the sounds of the forest replaced by eerie silence. Our flashlights revealed walls adorned with ancient, indecipherable runes and sketches of grotesque figures engaged in what appeared to be rituals. Deep inside, the passage opened into a vast underground chamber, its center dominated by a stone altar stained with dark, dried liquid that bore a stark resemblance to blood. The walls bore shelves carved into the stone, housing skeletal remains arranged in precise patterns, a horrifying testimony to the chamber's grim purpose. We should have turned back, but the explorer's spirit in us urged us forward, driven by a morbid curiosity to uncover the secrets that lay hidden in the depths of the earth. A corridor led us further underground, revealing rooms containing personal belongings of individuals long past. Rotten furniture, tattered garments, and disturbing paintings depicting monstrous entities. The deeper we ventured, the more our sanity unraveled. We began to hear whispers, a quiet, incessant chatter that seemed to come from the very walls themselves, a maddening cacophony of voices urging us to delve deeper, to join them in the bowels of the earth. We lost track of time in the darkness as we moved through endless corridors and chambers, a labyrinthine nightmare from which there seemed no escape. Panic set in as we realized we were lost, the passageway a living entity, its configuration changing with each passing moment, trapping us within its confines. I could feel my mind slipping away, images of grotesque figures haunting my vision, a relentless pressure building in my head as the whispers grew louder. A symphony of voices promising salvation through sacrifice, urging us to spill our blood upon the altar. We became separated, each of us drawn to different parts of the catacombs, lost in a terrifying world of shadows and whispers. I wandered aimlessly, the world around me a shifting kaleidoscope of horror as I stumbled through rooms filled with the remains of previous explorers, their faces frozen in eternal screams of agony. The whispers became my only companions, guiding me, urging me to give in to the darkness, to join the eternal ranks of the damned trapped within the catacombs' embrace. I found myself standing before the altar, the whispers now a deafening roar in my ears, my mind filled with images of grotesque entities demanding sacrifice. I could feel their presence around me, the air thick with the scent of rot and death as they circled, their formless shapes pressing in from all sides, urging me to take the sacrificial knife that lay upon the altar. I resisted, the last vestiges of my sanity clinging desperately to the fading memories of the sun, the river, and the laughter of friends now lost in the darkness. Tears streamed down my face as I fought against the overwhelming compulsion to give in to the darkness, the whispers promising release, eternal bliss in the embrace of the entities that inhabited the catacombs. And then, in the abyss of despair, I heard it, a faint, distant sound that cut through the din of whispers and the pressure in my mind, a sound that held a promise of salvation, the sound of flowing water, the river calling me home. With a final surge of strength, I turned away from the altar, stumbling towards the sound, the whispers rising to a crescendo of anger and frustration as I moved away from their grasp. The catacombs around me shifted and changed, a maze of horrors trying to trap me, but I kept moving, driven by the sound of the river, my beacon of hope in the darkness. I emerged into the daylight, the bright sun a painful yet welcome sight as I collapsed on the riverbank, the whispers fading away. I don't know how I found the strength to move, to drag myself to my kayak and paddle away from that accursed place, the riverbank receding in the distance as I left the hidden passageway and its horrors behind. I can can still hear the whispers in the back of my mind, urging me to return to the hidden passageway. I fear it won't ever stop and give me peace. It was supposed to be a tranquil journey, a luxurious escape aboard the finest cruiser, the Ocean Serene. My husband Tom and I were accompanied by our vivacious daughter Lily, who at 10 bore an enchanting curiosity for the vast ocean and the stories it held. We partook in the extravagance the cruiser had to offer, the food, nights in the casino, and great shows. But as the initial thrill ebbed, an undercurrent of unease began to shape our voyage into something sinister. It began innocuously enough. A note slid under our door, written in what looked like a hasty scrawl. "Watch the waves. They tell stories," it read. We chuckled, assuming it to be a playful note from the event coordinators, urging us to enjoy the various attractions aboard. But then, the notes persisted. Each morning, we found one slipped under our door. The messages became increasingly disjointed, a fragmented narrative from a mind that seemed caught in a delirium of fear and awe of the sea. "Eyes in the deep," one note declared. "They watch, they wait," warned another. With each note, our laughter faded, replaced by a seed of unease that grew with the erratic pulse of a troubled heart. The once gentle whispers of the sea bore undertones of whispers echoing unsettling tales, spun from the tattered fragments of a deranged mind. As we approached the heart of our journey, the notes took a personal turn, a piercing arrow into the sanctuary of our privacy. "Lily sings to them. The sea creatures listen," it said. That shred of paper bore a weight of dread that settled heavily in our chests. It was as though the author had pierced through the heart of our family, his invisible tendrils curling around the pulsating beat of our collective love for Lily. The notes sought Lily out, singling her out in the labyrinthine world of the cruiser. "She walks in the garden of seaweed and coral," a note described. My heart seized with fear, imagining the gentle hands of my child grazing the jagged edges of an underwater menace. The staff was alerted, the security tightened, yet the elusive author evaded capture. Every effort to unearth the mysterious messenger bore no fruits, as though they were a phantom etching foreboding tales from the crevices of the cruiser. Fear begot fear, and our once luxurious suite turned into a chamber of anxiety, a palpable entity that clenched and unclenched with every heartbeat. The day came when the note bore a message that drained the color from our faces. "Tonight, when the moon kisses the sea, Lily will dance with the waves." Panic gripped us, a vice closing around our hearts. I remember holding Lily, feeling the fragile frame of her being, a stark contrast to the raging storm of fear swirling in my veins. We huddled in our suite, a family besieged by invisible horrors, the words of a madman dictating our fate. The staff patrolled, the security cameras hummed, yet a pall of doom hung heavily in the room, choking us with fear and helplessness. Hours stretched infinitely. Lily clung to us, her innocent eyes clouded with confusion and fear, the vibrant light dimmed by the darkness that enveloped us. And then a chilling scream pierced the silence. Our heads turned to the source, the open veranda door. The sea sang in haunting melodies, calling us to witness the heart of darkness revealed under the moon's cold glow. The suite door crashed open. Security personnel rushed in, their faces a mask of fear mirrored in ours. I felt Lily's hand slip from mine, a fleeting warmth replaced by a chilling void. Time seemed to slow. My voice caught in my throat, an icy hand clenching around my vocal cords as I tried to scream her name. But then, there she was, standing at the verge of the abyss, her small form a silhouette against the moonlit sea. It was as though the world held its breath, a tableau of fear and beauty, the innocence of a child standing at the threshold of dark whispers spun from the fevered mind of a madman. Tom rushed forward, a desperate cry tearing from his throat, a raw sound of fear and love, the embodiment of a parent's protective instinct. Lily turned, her face pale in the moon's glow, her eyes wide with innocence and fear, caught in the swirling maelstrom of the unknown. And then, with a grace born of innocence, she stepped back from the abyss, back into the arms of her father, back into the warmth of familial love that bore a strength greater than the dark tendrils of fear. The mysterious note leaver was never found, vanished like a phantom into the steel bowels of the ocean serene. The once grand voyage turned into a haunted journey through a sea of fear, a family held captive by the dark fantasies spun from the mind of an unknown entity. We left the cruiser with heavy hearts, yet as we stood on solid ground, the fear ebbed, receding like the tide, leaving behind a family with bonds strengthened. We are still trying to understand what happened on that fateful voyage.